Hi, I'm John Lewis. Welcome to The Skinny here on your TV. And today we have singer, songwriter, musician, all kinds of things. JOSLYNN Burford.
Hi.
Welcome, JOSLYNN.
Thank you. Hello, nice to see you again.
Yes, so
Yeah.
you've been keeping busy.
Very busy.
Yes.
So COVID happened and it was kind of quiet during COVID and lockdown with the family and stuff. And then so started picking up my guitar more often and doing music with the kids and playing on my piano. And then the tail end of COVID happened and I started getting this drive and everyone else started getting excited. And Trent Radio, it was Trent Radio and Jill Stavely. And they were doing a little special on a Sunday. So I didn't have to go out and play anywhere. Just went into the little studio at Mars Music and played like 6 of my songs in a row. And Marcus from Mars Music cut it all up and gave it to the radio. And that was my first like feeling it, getting back into it.
Yeah, because
COVID.
you started music when you were young, right?
Child, yeah. Since like 4 or 5 years old, I started in the choir. I think 5 years old, Mom signed me up for the Peterborough County Youth Choir.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a big choir.
Yes, a lot of people.
Lot
and
of
then
people.
you were in a band.
Yeah.
You auditioned for a band when you were 15.
Yes, yeah, the
And so-
central nervous system. It was out of a skills high school in Oshawa called, first it was Vanier and then Central Collegiate High School. And yeah, I auditioned, I did a song, let me try to think of the name of it. It was a Canadian artist anyway. A friend of mine accompanied me on guitar. At that time, I wasn't a strong guitar player. But I went in on my first take and did the audition, and before I left, he's like, yeah, you're in. So at that time, we were about an 8-piece rock and blues band, and from 15 until I was 18, it grew to a 13-piece.
And you sang.
And I was a lead singer, yes. Also,
Yeah.
and percussion. So I would play a tambourine, I'd throw it up in the air and like spin around and do all these little dances. And there was 3 of us girls. So we, an example, I guess Tina Turner. We did one of her songs and we learned all the dance steps with the spins and the arms and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, so I should have added dancer.
I know,
in the,
dancer
in the,
too.
In the list of things. But
Yes.
your parents were dancers.
You
They
got
were
it.
into dancing.
Big
and is
time.
that what got you interested in music?
Yes, yeah,
They weren't
definitely.
musicians.
No,
but
they were lovers of music. So yeah, growing up, we did a lot of country and bluegrass festivals, and my parents were always up. My dad, 6'1", cowboy hat, rolling up his shirt with the players pack here, and his jeans and his belt buckle and his big cowboy boots, and he'd just swing my mom around. I used to watch them dance, and then sometimes I would also dance with him, putting my feet on his feet. And,
Oh, okay.
You know, dancing with my dad, and yeah, definitely those were the very beginnings of me falling in love with music.
And with the Central Nervous System Band, you were on BT, breakfast television
Yes,
too. You
with
got
Ann
the
Romer. Yeah, I think we did it 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Early in the morning, bright and early. Yeah, they were great for advertising for us because we were Oshawa and Toronto area, so we'd go in and do the breakfast television thing and advertise, say if we were going to Canada's Wonderland or Ontario Place, it would help bring crowds in. So yeah, it was
So you guys played around a lot
we
as
played,
that band.
Yes, a lot. We did most of Southern Ontario, 3 gigs a day, mostly during the week. We'd play schools, so we'd show up at the high school for about 6:37 in the morning, quick practice, load up our dirt van, as we called it, and we would take all our gear to the first school, set it all up. By the time the kids came into school, they'd load up all into the gym. We'd play a set for about an hour, tear down, rip over to another school, set it up, do another one, tear it down, repeat 3rd time, and then at the end of the day, typically we would either take our equipment back to the school or a bar gig. So by the time I was 16, we're at the Tartan Tavern.
Wow.
Not drinking, and
No.
you don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I mean, we were definitely at the Tartan
No.
Tavern at that age, you know? And they'd let us in late at night to play, and
When did you decide that you wanted to do solo stuff? Because you've played around in town. I mean, you've been with various people in town, right?
yeah.
You were with Kim Doolittle,
Yeah, we did the Great Girl Singers
Tom
thing.
Eastland.
Yeah, I was a drummer and a backup singer. Yes.
Did you work with Jude Waldman too?
I did work with Jude
Yes.
Waldman. We used to enjoy doing shows together at the Red Dog, so we would like book a little show and like acoustic specials, I guess. You know, it would be like me and Jude Waldman and Katie Courts and the Weber Brothers, maybe. We would just create these little
And
music
Katie
nights.
used to be Katie Bath.
That's right. Used to
If
be
I
Katie Bell.
remember
Yeah.
correctly.
And now she's a Katie Courts
Katie
now.
Courts.
Yes.
So you decided to go do solo work. Is that when you started songwriting, or were you songwriting before then?
Songwriting writing before that. Actually, I was looking at an old journal the other day. This woman found my journal at a farmhouse where I lived at years ago and just mailed it back to me. So there was songwritings back when I was like 10 years old, just poems, but very musical. So I've been writing my whole life.
So musically, I mean, you play guitar,
Yep.
drums,
Yes.
harmonica,
Yep.
piano,
A little bit. Yep.
shakers,
Yes. Bongos.
banjo,
Yep.
trumpet.
Yes. Second
Bass
trumpet.
guitar.
Yes. Yeah.
What, I mean,
Once
isn't-
around the kitchen. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it kind of just comes naturally for me. I didn't really take any official lessons. Like I said, I was in that choir, so I have some basics on breath control, and we had to learn how to read music properly being in the choir.
Oh, so you can read music?
I can read music as well,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I don't now. I kind of cheat. I just write out my lyrics, and then I write the little note above it, and I could take the time to write it all out, but yes.
No?
Sometimes I just do the easier route.
So you did the solo thing from around 2000 to about 2009.
Well, when the band broke up, when the central nervous
Yeah.
system broke up when I was 18, 19, I had to do something. I was so used to playing all the time and singing all the time that I was just itching. So I had this old guitar, an Aria. It was my mother's guitar. And I pulled it back out, put new strings on it. I got a couple of books from the guitar store. I think it was Long and McQuaid at the time in Oshawa. And I just started learning my basics, the G, A, D, F, C, and just enough to get me by. So I could sing live by myself and become a singer, a solo singer.
Well, they always used to say, well, it was the Creedence songs. All you needed was like 3 chords, and you
Right.
could do every Creedence song.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
So then 2009 till I guess this year when things started to, you took some time off. You had
I
a couple
did.
of kids.
I did, yes. My 2 youngest, they're
And then
12 and 10.
Then COVID, right?
Yeah, and I homeschooled them. We didn't do the online stuff, so I
Oh.
really just did not have time for music. I had to just focus on being a teacher and a mom. And then, like I said, though, while doing that, I introduced music class to them. Right, so we started. I taught them like C scale, and brought out the piano and showed them different notes in the piano, what 3 you can make a chord, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, though COVID was definitely, it sucked being in the house all the time, but we actually made the best of it.
Okay.
And I got in touch with
But
my
now
music. So.
you've been out there. You've been performing like.
Nonstop. Soon as I started, it has been nonstop.
I look at sometimes at your schedule and I think, sometimes I feel like I'm busy. And
Just
then I
looking
look
at
and I go, what, does she sleep?
No, not really.
You're always out there because you've been playing with Tammy Wilde,
Yeah.
Joan Lamore. You've been
Yeah.
out to, I think, a lot of the
Yeah,
open.
I've been out to the open mics on Mondays with Rick and Gailey again.
Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn. I try that. Tuesday night, Jethro's. I really enjoy Jethro's. I try to go in once a month. I can't remember the man's last name, but Matt is the guy's first name, and he hosts it, and every week is a different.
Holtby?
Yes, that's it, Holtby, Matt Holtby. And he hosts this open stage, and it's themed every week. So it's challenging. So it's not like I just go out and play my typical songs. Like this week, I think tonight is that 70s era. Last week was original songs, singer-songwriter. The week before, I think it was all songs from the 80s. It's different and challenging. So I really enjoy that open stage. And every time I book a gig, I seem to be getting another 2 gigs.
Well, back again in the 2000 to 2000 line, you were in Peterborough at that point?
Yeah.
And were there more places to play then, or do you think there's more now?
Wow, I think there's probably the same amount, but the excitement about music is huge right now. I think maybe before COVID, we all kind of took it for granted. And now that we've all realized that, life's short and crazy chaos can happen, I think everybody's just into live music and having a good time right now. There really is more opportunity, like house parties and corn roasts. Like I've got a wedding anniversary coming up. I never had gigs like that. But these people really want to experience,
So
fun.
there's good and bad from
Yes.
COVID,
Yes,
is what
there's
we're
good and
saying.
bad. Yes,
So COVID has
definitely.
helped music in the long run,
Yeah.
even though for 2 years it was horrible for musicians.
It really was.
Because
Well, we
a lot of
couldn't work.
musicians hurt.
Yeah.
You
And we
know?
all don't know the internet. Like I'm not a pro at doing online videos and I had to wing it as I went. Everyone's like, just do an online thing, YouTube, like what do you call it, a live feed or something. And I'm like, well, that's easy to say, but it's not easy. The online stuff
We're going to
is
talk
tough.
about that
Yeah.
after a break. We're going
Okay.
to take a break in a moment here,
Talk
okay?
about my YouTube channel.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
talk about all that stuff, but we're going to
Alright.
take a short break. You're watching The Skinny here on your TV, and we'll be right back with more from JOSLYNN Burford. Hi, welcome back to The Skinny here on your TV, and we've got JOSLYNN Burford with us. And before the break, we were talking about some of the people you played with. Brock Stonefish. You
Yeah,
played
oh,
drums with Brock.
I was his drummer. What a blast that was. Where did we meet? Brock Stonefish and I think met at the Red Dog when I was playing for Tom Eastland as a drummer. And he approached me and he was like, "Are you available to be a drummer in my band part-time? I'm looking for a drummer." I'm like, "Sure, I could give it a go." And brought him over to my place and we connected right away. Like within the first 10 minutes, I knew his stuff. It was a really nice flow. So yeah, we played together for about 8 months and I got to do the Blues Fest in Toronto with him at the beaches. That was a blast, an outside gig. And I played from like 11 o'clock in the morning to like 11 o'clock at night. It's just an intense, non-stop, like I think we had 2 little breaks.
Now, did you have a full drum kit?
Full drum kit. No, I had a full drum
and
kit
you
outside.
taught that yourself?
Yes, yeah. So I learn a lot by watching and listening. I have pretty good
Okay.
ear, and usually it takes me like I can listen to something once or twice and then just sit down and play it. My brain memorizes the structure and the melody. The lyrics are a bit tough. Usually I have to still have my lyrics. They can take a little while for me to memorize, but
And the bass, how did that come about? Because I mean, Kim Doolittle, who
Necessity.
you played with, she
Yes.
played bass,
Yeah,
right? She used to
necessity, I think, you know, like I'm just my own musician, so I could play the guitar part, but if I wanted to do a little recording, I didn't want to have to hire another musician. So I don't know, I just kind of was a cheater, so like if you play a G chord at the very top string, you can play that for your bass note. So I've just learned these little tricks, I guess, to get me through. I wouldn't say I'm an intermediate bass player, but I can definitely get by, you know, I can.
And your guitar playing, how's that? That's been improving.
It's improving, definitely,
right? Because
yes.
you're practicing all the time.
Every day
Whenever
I practice
I've
now.
talked to you, you're like, yeah, I'm on my guitar practicing or writing a tune.
And that's what's really changed my guitar playing is diligently every day
Right.
practicing. And I never used to spend that much time on it. I would just do the bare minimum, like I said, learn the guitar part so I could sing it. But now I think I'm just maybe at an age now where I just want to get a bit more technical. I like the challenges of things. And like every day when I play it, I notice myself getting better. And that feels good as well. So I just keep improving.
Have you done any vocal training or
I'm
anything?
in the middle of vocal training.
Oh.
I just actually had my first class yesterday morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Of course, I can't think of her name right this second. I just met her
Okay.
through my sister.
Okay.
She's a woman from Perth area, and we're doing it online.
Okay.
So yesterday, she reminded me about breathing with my diaphragm and not using my throat as much, and some warm-up techniques, and that's really nice. I'm looking forward to meeting her twice more. I'm only going to do 3.
Because your voice is kind of, you got that, it's almost like Kim Carnes, Melissa Etheridge,
Okay.
right? It's kind of
Yeah,
that kind of
sure.
a voice, right?
Yeah. I've been compared to a few different, it just depends on the person. Some people are like, "Oh, you sound just like Norah Jones," and some people are
Okay.
like, "Yeah," or "You sound like Edie Brickell from The Last Bohemians," or some people are like, "I've never heard a voice like yours, very original." And yeah, I do have a different voice.
Because who are some of the people that you look up to?
That I look up to?
Like that performers, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's see, who are my favorites? So I definitely like Carly Simon. She was one of my favorites. Bette Midler. And like Wind Beneath My Wings and Under the Boardwalk, all those songs. Meatloaf, I used to sing the whole album, like right from the beginning. I loved that album. And so I would do both parts, the male and the female parts. So growing up, I had a record player, and a lot of the songs that I learned were from picking records out of my parents' records. And I'm just trying to think who was my ultimate favorite. Danny's All-Star joint she sang, and last Chance at Texaco, or I can't think of her name either right now.
I can't think of her name.
Oh no, I feel
Now,
doesn't matter.
so songwriting, you
Yes.
started songwriting,
Yes.
and how's that process for you? Do you come up, like a lot of musicians might start with the lyrics? You mentioned you had a journal and
flow.
you had poems that you used to
so
write.
sometimes I start with a poem. Most of the time it's one flow. So I just I'll pick up my guitar. I have a piece of paper there, and I'll just start, and it just all comes out. Typically all at once, in one sitting.
And do you have a specific time? Do you actually sit down and say, okay, today I got to sit down, or is it just because
No,
I know
it'll come
I think
to
it's
me.
like, I think I read one time that Gordon Lightfoot, it was considered a job kind of, and he would come into his space
Yeah.
at 9 or whatever
Yeah.
and write.
Well, I would
Or
say in the
try to.
morning. Well, I do writing like that, but I wouldn't say that I use that writing for my songs. But I do like daily writing. So whether it's just like a poem or an idea, so much paper, so much writing. But usually when it just comes to a song, for me, it comes out in a flow, usually in a moment. Sometimes even like the other day, I was walking the dog and I came up with this little and I had to run home because I didn't have my phone with me to like record it. So it'll just come to me in one flow. I don't know how else to say it. Like it just comes out. Like the song Mountain Ash Man, I wrote at my sister's house sitting at the kitchen table in one flow. And she wrote it as I sang it. She wrote it out.
Oh, so your sister helps you.
It helps sometimes, yes. And I have someone else with me, and then I can just, and they can write what I sing. Or I record it on my telephone or device.
And what do you tend to write about? What?
Usually emotions. I tend to either get in touch with my sadness, or if I'm feeling loss, or if I'm feeling joy. And usually those stronger feelings is what I tend to write about. Like I can't just write a song if I'm in I don't know, if I was just in like a happy-go-lucky mood, my day's going great, there probably wouldn't be much that would inspire me. So it's usually like something traumatic that happens, or some sort of stress or chaos, and that usually, it comes out of me in some sort of emotional way. Like the song Mountain Ash Man, I wrote for my dad after he died. So it was, I don't usually deal well with the emotion and saying goodbye to people or death, but it'll come out in a song.
Right.
So like the song is regarding my dad and about where he lived in the mountains and how he enjoyed it, and that I would never see him again, and that I wish that he could see where I'm at now. So I guess, yeah, I write a lot about my own emotions.
I saw you in the summertime when you were with Tammy J and Joan, the hippie chicks.
Yes, yes.
And you were kind of organized. You had all your charts out. You had all your pieces of paper, and the wind was blowing, and you're trying to keep everything down. Because most artists these days, they all have their binders. I guess it's their Bible.
Right, their Bible or their telephone device
do you have
or
one
their
of those
tablet. I do.
Bibles?
I have many of those. I have a stack, probably about this big in my room, of like older songs, poetry, tab, chords. And then when I go out, right before I go out or the day before is when I do my set list. So that's when I pull out the songs that I'm going to play, and that's when I do my organizing. It's usually right before the show. I'm kind of a last minute kind of gal. Sometimes I'll write a set list and stick right to it. And then other times, maybe I'll feel like, oh, I could do this song right now because it'll fit in nice. But typically, I am organized and I stick to my
And
list.
it depends on your audience too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
if you're at a certain venue and things are going well, then you might say, hey, let me throw in this one because
Yes.
they're into this one. Right?
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes you just throw it in there. There's not much you can do. You just got to go by the feel of the audience.
And you can't remember everything.
I can't. And that's why I have to, like, there are songs that I have memorized, especially the ones I've been doing
Right.
for 10 years. My original stuff, I don't need to look at music. But when I'm picking up new stuff or doing covers, yeah, I tend to have references to,
Yeah.
it's
Like
a lot to remember.
It is. Well, I'm always amazed whenever I see Rick and Gailey.
Oh, right?
Because I'm watching them doing all of these British invasion music, and they have nothing in front of them.
Right.
They don't have any book. They have nothing.
But they've been doing it for years, so
long
on
time.
repeat and like
Yeah.
a few times a week. So I think the more repetition you get, it sticks in our brains, like for myself anyway.
Now, you tend to write on your own,
Yes.
except
Recently.
you did a recording with a collaborator.
I
Tell me
did.
who that was and how that went.
Okay, so I just started getting back out playing, and I had recently booked at the Puck and Pint, and I was doing an open stage. And this man, Stefan Fyodorek, I think it's how we pronounce his name, he had contacted me via Facebook, and he asked me if he could come out to the show and bring his wife. I was like, of course. So he came out to the show, and we took a picture together, and we had a small conversation. He asked me, would you want to try writing? I'm a writer, write together. I said, yeah, I'm into that, like we'll exchange. So it was a bit different and daunting. I'd never met the man before, so we got to know each other on Messenger. And the first little bit of writing, we just wrote sentences back and forth on the Messenger. And it seemed to have a good flow, so we just went for it. We shared some chords together, and then he left it with me. So I would say I did the majority of the songwriting, but you know, he initially got the ideas flowing for me and gave me a cool key change, which was the B flat to an F sharp, and that was new for me. So yeah, it was really unique working with someone else. It's very different for me, but I enjoyed the process.
And then you went to the studio and you recorded this, and it's called Sweet Regards.
Sweet Regards.
But you've recorded with Barry before,
Yes,
years ago. But this experience, how was this working?
It was different because it was co-written, so I had Stefan with me. And we did it quite quick in the morning, so I just had a little click track, and I did the ghost track with my guitar, and then I went back in after that about an hour later, and then I put my vocals on top of it. We did it all in about 3 hours, and Barry, he was so lovely. He put all these nice little fills in between with the electric guitar, and I left him a nice space at the end of the song to do a solo, and he put a lovely solo in there. I really do enjoy the song.
How can people hear that?
Right now you can hear it on Spotify, Bandcamp, YouTube, Facebook, and you have to look it under Stefan's name, Stefan Fyodorek.
Okay.
And the song's called, Sweet
Regards.
Regards. It's actually on a Toronto playlist right now, doing quite well. I checked it this morning. It says 1. I don't know. It's exciting.
So now, do you ultimately want to get a CD of all your own material?
Yeah, so I'm mid-working on that right now. I am at Tammy J. Wild's studio called Wild Productions. So she has 2 songs right now that we're working on. I also have one that I did with Marcus from Mars Music. And that one I just sent away to the Don Scoose competition, Don Scoose Memorial.
Yeah.
And that's my song, Regine. I wrote that song, Regine, for a friend of mine back in 2005 or 2006. So it's one of my stronger songs. I chose that one. It's catchy, and people always request it. So I wanted to enter the competition last year in 2021, but the song took a while to complete. It's very full. So we did it on the internet, but Marcus had added some strings and some backup vocals, and there's a tech beat kind of it, so it's a bit poppy, very different. And we did 2 raw versions. Anyway, so that's sent off to the Don Scoose competition. If I do win, which is a big if, it's a competition, they take my song down to New York, and it gets edited and polished up by a professional studio. And then the song's mine to release. And
Oh, nice.
yeah.
So we talked earlier in the first half of the show about technology.
Yes.
Because of course, you're doing it all. You're
All
doing
it.
videos, you're posting stuff, you got your pictures out there, which is all the things you have to do now because it's so different.
It's a whole other world.
From years ago, right?
Yeah. I have to do 2 worlds. So before I just get myself ready and go out to my venue or my gig, well, now there's like, I get home from the venue, I need to be online. People want to see the pictures, they want to see the video from where I was at. And then in the morning when I get up, I've got to check my social media because I want to stay in touch with all my new fans and the people who are engaging with my stuff. It's a lot. Like, I would say that I probably spend 2 hours a day on social media just
It's a job.
Right? That's
Right?
a lot. It's a lot. And I'm learning the ropes. Like, YouTube is very difficult for me. You know, it's just a little phone camera, and I'm trying to, like, there's an audience there, right? So I'm learning. I've done a couple of lives on YouTube.
Yeah. And how can people watch those?
Oh, they can go to JOSLYNN Burford, JOSLYNN BURFORD on YouTube, and just look me up.
Okay.
And subscribe and like, please.
Okay, and is there a little notification?
Yeah, a little
there's
notification
thing?
bell.
I've never done that. I have
Right?
to try that. I don't.
It's not, and then there's TikTok. I'm on TikTok and on Facebook. And
Twitter?
on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Yes.
It's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
We'll all be watching. We'll all be looking at all the various venues around town that you're performing all over the place.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And I hope people go and check you out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
No problem. There's a lot coming up this fall and winter. I'm going to be playing with the big band with Mr. Hamilton, William Hamilton. I've got the Hippie Chicks and myself and Joan. And just keep your eye out. I'm playing every week. Just look online.
We'll keep our eye out for
Thanks so
sure.
much.
Thank you so much for coming in. You've been watching The Skinny here on your TV. Join us again next week for another program. Bye-bye.